You ever been so alone that the sound of your own heartbeat is a noise you come to dread? That was my world in the fall of 1882. The high desert of Arizona wasn't just a place, it was a state of mind, a vast, empty cathedral of red rock and silence. And I was its only worshiper. My name is Elias Thorne. And this is the story of how my emptiness became filled, and the price and the blessing that came with it. The ranch was a stubborn patch of dust I called home, 100 acres of struggle against the sun and the stubborn earth. The cattle were few, the water was scarce, and the silence was the loudest thing of all. It was on one of those endless afternoons, with a sky the color of faded brass, that I saw the dust cloud. Not the gentle plume of a stray antelope, but a churning, angry smear on the horizon, and it was moving fast. I grabbed my old Winchester, not out of courage, but out of a habit of survival. I rode out to the bluffs, the dry wind whipping my bandana against my face. And down below, in the wash, I saw them. 2 figures, running. Not men, but boys. Tall, lean, with long black hair whipping behind them like ravens' wings. They were Apache, that much was clear, and they were running for their lives. Behind them, a dozen cavalry soldiers on lathered horses, their blue coats like angry bruises on the landscape. Shots rang out, sharp and flat, kicking up spurts of dust at the boys' heels. They weren't soldiers, these boys. They were scared kids. And in that moment, the politics of the territory, the stories of raids and reprisals, none of it mattered. All I saw was a predator and its prey. I didn't think. I fired a single shot into the air, a sharp crack that echoed off the canyon walls. It wasn't meant to hit anyone, just to distract. The soldiers reined in, confused, scanning the bluffs. I stood up, silhouetted myself, and waved my hat, pointing away from the wash, towards a narrow, hidden canyon I knew like the back of my hand, a place those army boys would never find. The twins, they saw me, a flicker of understanding in their dark, desperate eyes. They changed direction, flowing over the rocky ground like shadows, and vanished into the mouth of the canyon. The soldiers, frustrated, fired a few more volleys in the wrong direction before giving up the chase, their curses carried away on the wind. I waited until the last of their dust had settled, until the only sound was the returning whisper of the desert. Then, and only then, did I make my way down. I found them huddled behind a large sandstone boulder, chests heaving, their faces etched with an exhaustion that went deeper than bone. They couldn't have been more than 17. They looked at me not with gratitude, but with a wary animal suspicion. One had a gash on his arm, bleeding sluggishly. The other held a stone, ready to fight to the last. I slowly set my rifle down, held my empty hands out, and spoke the only word of Apache I knew, Shikis, brother. I brought them back to my shack. It wasn't much, a dirt floor, a pot-bellied stove, a roof that leaked ambition, but it was shelter. I gave them water, what little jerky I had, and cleaned the one boy's wound with whiskey. He didn't even flinch. They didn't speak, not at first. They just watched me, their eyes missing nothing. I learned their names later. The one with the wounded arm was Kaya, which meant my elder sister. The other, his constant shadow, was Tokala, Fox. names given by a mother who was likely gone, a past they carried in their silence. Days turned into a week. They healed. They started to help, silently. Tokala had an uncanny way with the few animals I had, a gentle hand that could calm a spooked horse. Kaya, despite his injury, could mend a fence with an efficiency that shamed my own efforts. We developed
And a heart brave enough to let it take root. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it grows into a forest.